according to Islamic tradition, as the Prophet approached the age of 40, which is when he received his first revelation from the angel Gabriel of the Quran, his heart started to become even more and more attached to retreat. And Islamic tradition will talk about supernatural events that, when he was on his way to the cave to go on retreat, that he would hear the trees and the rocks saying, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, peace and blessings be upon you, O Messenger of God. And that even nature was recognizing him as an individual that was bestowed with a special rank by God. So at the age of 40, Muhammad heard the angel Gabriel approach him while he was meditating in the cave of Hira. And he received the first Quranic revelation, which is, read in the name of thy Lord who created. He created the human being from a blood clot. Read in the name of thy Lord who taught by the pen. He taught the human being what he did not know. So what's meant by revelation? Wahi. This is really important. It's really important for understanding scripture in the Islamic tradition. So there are three different forms of scriptures and communications we have from the early period. So the first is Hadith, and I believe you've taken Hadith courses with Maria de Cake, so you're familiar with Hadith, yes? Yeah. So Hadith are the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, where the meaning and the sayings are the words of Muhammad himself. Now, Muslims believe that, he wasn't a normal human being like everybody else, and that God was inspiring his heart when he spoke and when he acted. So that's why it was regarded as significant to record what the Prophet said, what he did for later generations, because people wanted to know, what was he like? What did he say? What did he think about this situation or that? Another form of scripture is Hadith Qudsi, or sacred hadith. So these are a number of hadiths that the meaning is from God, but the wording is from Muhammad. So you've heard of Hadith Qudsi as well? Okay. The last one is Quran, which Muslims believe that both the meaning and the wording of the Quran is from God. And that Prophet Muhammad is a vessel in the situation that transmits God's message to humanity. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I have a bit more details here. I don't know if you are all interested in the details. So in the study of Quranic studies, Muslim scholars from within the Islamic tradition will say, what were the forms of wahi or divine communication with the Prophet Muhammad and God? So the variant degree, and they're categorized based on their variant degrees of intensity. So the first is that which was a true dream, and this was the beginning of wahi. So the Prophet would see dreams that would then later come out to actually materialize. He never used to see a dream that it became true like the break of day. It is reported on the authority of Aisha. So this is how hadith are framed. You've probably seen this already. When revelation first started to come to the messenger of God, they were true dreams during sleep. The revelation at this stage would have either been through the inspiration of God or the intermediary of the angel Gabriel. Thus, it does not exceed the bounds mentioned in the previous verse. Okay, so that's another discussion. The second was that the angel, that Gabriel, used to inspire his mind and his heart. And then this is again based on a hadith, and that's where this information is derived from. The third, the angel used to come to him in the form of a man. So this is important. The third, fourth, and fifth form we're going to see is the form of wahi in which the Quran is believed to have been revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. So the third form of communication between God and Muhammad was in the form of the angel Gabriel, who used to come to him in the form of a man. And the fourth, it's narrated, it's reported, it used to come to him like the tolling of a bell. This was the hardest on him. The angel would yatalabbas bihi, or overwhelm him until beads of sweat would form on his forehead, even on days of intense cold. The camel used to sit if he was riding it from his weight. The revelation came to the messenger of God in this way one time when his thigh was on the thigh of Zayd ibn Thabit. The messenger's thigh became so heavy that he bruised Zayd. Bukhari narrated in his isnad that Aisha, that Al-Harith ibn Hisham asked the messenger of God. Oh, and this is a translation, so whenever you see in Islamic scripture or in Hadith, messenger of God, it's referring to the Prophet Muhammad, and I'm just translating it literally from the Hadith. So he said, "O messenger of God, how does revelation come to you?" The Prophet responded, "Sometimes it comes to me like the ringing of a bell, and this is the hardest for me. When it departs from me, I have comprehended what it has said, and sometimes the angel appears to me in the form of a man, and he speaks to me so that I understand what he is saying." In another transmission through Aisha, "I saw him when he was receiving revelation on a day of intense cold, and when it departed from him, his forehead had formed beads of sweat." Okay? And the fifth is, he used to see the angel in the form it was created. The sixth, the night of ascension. And the seventh, God's words to him without an intermediary of an angel. So, yeah, this is a little bit technical. I cut and paste this from another lecture series I do on the study of the Quran, Ulum al-Quran, Quranic studies. So this might be a little bit too detailed. Is this confusing? Yeah, but I did include this here just so you get an idea how within the Islamic tradition, what do Muslims mean when they say Wahi? So the word revelation, divine revelation, it's a big deal. It's not something that everybody gets. Because, we say, in English, we just say words like, I got this great revelation. I was walking down the street and I just had a revelation. But it's not what is meant when they say it within this framework, in the context of the Quran. So, Rahman and Raheem. So each of the chapters in the Quran, except one, begin with the phrase, "In the name of God, the most merciful and the most gracious." Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So that's something you'll see commonly. It's one of God's 99 names in the Islamic tradition. You might ask, well, does having 99 names mean having 99 gods? Are they different parts of God? Theologians respond to this with the concept of essence and accidents. So a person can be a mother, daughter, teacher, friend, all aspects of the same person. So those aspects are accidents, but their essence is that they're the same person. It doesn't make them more than one. God's relationship with humanity is based primarily on mercy and God's love. So the fact that every verse in the Quran begins with this, it emphasizes this understanding and this view by Muslims in the Islamic tradition is that God's relationship with humanity is first and foremost based on love and mercy. Okay. So the first 3 years of the Prophet Muhammad's mission were known as the secret phase or the discreet phase. The Prophet is at first doubtful of himself. His wife Khadija is the first one to convert and is probably the most important support for him, followed by his uncle Abu Talib. When he first receives this revelation, he doesn't know what's happening, and the Islamic tradition reports, Hadith tradition reports, that the first thing he does is go to his wife Khadija, and he says, "Am I losing my mind? What's happening to me?" And Khadija is reported as having said, "You take care of the orphan, you look after the widow, you give charity to people in need, you help the oppressed. How could your Lord abandon you?" And so his wife is really his bedrock in the first 10 years of his mission. She has an uncle called Warqah ibn Nawfal, who is a Hanif, and he is familiar with scriptures that came before. So she suggests that they go and speak to him. And so the Prophet, so they go to him, and he confirms that he believes Muhammad is a prophet. And he says to him, "I wish I were younger. I wish I could live up to the time when your people will turn you out. Anyone who came with something similar to what you have brought was treated with hostility, and if I should be alive until that day, I would support you strongly." So this is a common theme that you'll find in the historical narratives in Islamic tradition of the life of the Prophet, is that many individuals who adhere to the other monotheistic traditions before, namely Christianity, Hanifism, or Judaism, find that affinity with the Prophet, and they convert based on what they were expecting in their own scriptures of an Arabian prophet that was supposed to be coming.